Welcome to Dungeoneering Done Dirt Cheap. I am Everweird, and this is my solo playthrough of the Gunderholfen megadungeon using the BECME D&D rules from the 1980s and 90s. We are on level 2. And when last I left off, we were in this room right here. On level 2, we had just passed through a room full of fungus and fire beetles on the walls, eating it, everything glowing. We are in this clay room. The room's walls, ceiling, and floor are made of a light yellow colored clay. The walls are carved in bas relief and depict scenes of people worshipping a snake-headed deity. So yeah, this is not like a long rest or anything. It's just maybe their 10-minute rest during their hour of dungeoneering. It's about 9:30 in the morning. They spend those 10 minutes resting, and then there's a door to the northeast, which seems like the best place for them to go. So they're going to listen at that door. And that is my my four main party members. I'm rolling a D100 for Talira because she is a thief and has the hear noises skill, which she does not make. Nobody else hears anything. So it sounds pretty silent. This level of the dungeon has definitely been a little bit quieter than the others. It doesn't seem like it is inhabited by any one kind of monster or anything. And I'm realizing now my map is a little goofy, so I'm going to have to diverge from the Gunderholfen map in a second as I draw this out. Basically, I didn't leave myself enough space. So they open this door and find themselves in a short hallway with another door on the other side of it. And they realize that's why they didn't hear anything. Four party members kneel at that second door. And this time, let's say Virago and Talira. If there is anything to be heard, they hear it. I can see ahead in this room, the walls are made from light-colored clay and carved with designs of people. Well, that doesn't matter what they're carved with. They don't know this. I should also mention that in the last session, we did find a scroll that indicated that there is a central shaft somewhere. So that's on our mind. We don't feel like we're close to it because we feel like, having spent a little time resting in that room and consulting the map that we've been making, it seems like we're kind of facing back to the area where we first descended to this level. So if there's a central shaft, we would think it's somewhere in here, not up here. Nonetheless, we don't know, so it doesn't seem like we hear anything in this room, and we enter. As I described, the walls are made of that light yellow clay. They're carved with designs of people praying to a snake-headed deity, and there are 5 skeletons in tattered rags standing in the middle. I can see ahead in the book these skeletons were set here as guards by someone that I have not met, and they will attack on sight unless we call out a code phrase, which we do not know. So I'm going to roll for initiative. We get to act first. We see these skeletons. I would assume because the instruction is that they attack on sight, we realize there's some aggressive posture from them at this moment. And so Blaine, our cleric, steps forward, brandishes his holy symbol, which is perhaps like one of those New York coffee cups, and speaks a rebuke to these skeletons, recognizing them as undead, as we have done a couple times before. So I roll 2d6 to see if I make my my skeletons are automatically turned. That's right. I believe I roll for a destroy. Because he is a level 3 cleric, skeletons are automatically turned when he rebukes them. Here we go. I get to review the turning undead. Yeah, a T means that the turning undead automatically succeeds. The cleric's player does not need to roll for success. To determine how many undead will be turned, the DM rolls 2d6 as described above. So basically this is how many HD hit dice of those skeletons get turned. Oh, only 4. The skeletons, however, are 1 HD skeletons, so I do turn 4 of these 5. 1 remains. The others, I believe, just run. They're going to run east through this room. Let me draw the room on the map real quick. And this is where I'll make an adjustment from the Gunderholfen map so it fits a little bit better. Same dimensions of the room, but the door is down here on the Gunderholfen map, and I can't collide with my other tunnel there, So these 4 skeletons run through this door back here. The other remains. It is holding a broadsword, and we will attack. In this case, seeing that they are skeletons and Blaine rebukes them, I think we just take up a normal fighting posture and the Dungeoneering Company steps forward. Grebe first with her sword +1. 5 is going to miss for sure. Zenith swinging a Morning Star, getting a natural 1. Balad swinging that two-handed sword that he has. A 10. Still not going to do it. Yeah, that is a real bummer. In the chaos of these 4 skeletons fleeing and my Dungeoneering Company running forward, we miss out on our swings. There's kind of a clash of shields and bones and swords, but no real hits are landed. Talira has been having luck with her scimitar, but does have a -2 to her strengths. Nonetheless, natural 20, that's amazing. So she does hit and does 2 points of damage. Oh, does the negative strength modifier impact the damage I do? I believe it does. Oh boy. I think, according to the way it's written, I would have to roll a 3 or greater on my damage to do any damage. That's the first time I've thought about that. I don't think Talira is going to be attacking with that scimitar anymore. I think it's going to be merely decoration. Virago swings out with their staff, though. 19 will hit, 5 hit points, smashes the skeleton to bits, ending this combat. And we take stock of this room. We've seen these depictions of people worshiping a snake-headed deity and then praying to a snake-headed deity. We're beginning to think that there's some snake-headed deity around here, and perhaps some snake-headed people, I think, is what's occurring to them. This was me trying to draw floor tiles, but I don't know that I conveyed that. So we approach this second door. There's nothing else to see in this room. I think we would spend 10 minutes just inspecting it. So I'll just cross that off the Dungeoneering time, but there's no need for me to roll for it because I know from reading in the adventure that there's nothing here. This is where the time becomes a resource that I'm managing because I'm going to roll a Wandering Monsters check pretty soon. But I need to check it off in order to let me know like how that is approaching, even if I'm a solo player and I know there's nothing in this room to be found. I guess I will go ahead and roll that Wandering Monsters before the end of the hour. Whoops, that's not what die I meant to roll. Ooh, there is a Wandering Monster. It's a D6 table on level 2, of course. I suppose we have left this door open behind us, or at least as it is swinging shut. About 30 feet back there in this other room, we hear this croaking of a giant toad. We just close the door right there. There's a brief discussion about, let me at him. Should I fire this arrow into there? And I don't know that we want to waste our time with that, but we also don't want to have to retreat through here and find a giant toad. So we've closed the door to discuss this. We take up our ranged positions, and then Virago will open that door again so that everyone with a ranged weapon can take a shot. I'm going to roll initiative. The toad gets to go first. Okay. As we open the door, let me roll a reaction for that toad. 12. It's uninterested in us. It's almost friendly. So though it has initiative, it is just sitting there, looking around the room, perhaps licking some of these bas-relief sculptures. Talira fires her longbow at it. 18 hits it for 2 points of damage. Here's another thing. So my strength should also modify my ranged attacks. Wow, have I built this character wrong? Like, did I screw up when I first built this character and not adding some points to strength just to like zero her out or something? I did not think about that at all until this moment. I think at least with the bow, I'm just going to have to play it right now until I read into this a little bit more deeply to see. Like, for one question I have is there a minimum? Do you always do a minimum of 1 damage? Or do I truly have to roll a 3 or greater on my damage die to do any damage? I'm going to look into that later. Right now I'm just going to play it as I roll it. So she does 2 points of damage to this toad. This toad has 12 HP. So now has 10 HP. Virago grabs their sling and fires a bullet in there, misses. Faqual is like this close to just firing magic missile at it. But Blaine will also fire his sling. 19 hits for 4 more points of damage, so it's down to 6 points of HP. Grebe also has a sling, misses. Zenith has a longbow, misses. And Ballad has nothing. He kind of gave up all ranged fighting and shields just to carry this two-handed sword. So it's down to 6 HP. It is now aggressive towards us and will hop towards us. forgot all about this. Faqual just throws a vial of burning oil at it. 11 is not going to hit. It would have totally destroyed this toad. Instead, the toad, I think, is going to take 1 damage just from this explosion going off in the room. It's a pretty small room, so it's down to 5 HP, but now it is going to fire its tongue out. There are 7 of us on an 8. I will re-roll this. 3, 1, 2, 3. It's going after Faqual. He was the last to strike. 7, fortunately, misses Faqual by 1. So I roll initiative. 6. We get to go first. Talira, longbow, misses. Virago, longbow, hits for 1 point of damage. It's down to 4. Then come the slings. Virago, I believe a 12 is... A 12 will hit it because I have a +1 to my dexterity, so that is a 13. And the toad has a 6 AC, so it's an 18. It hits for 2 points of damage. It's down to 2 points, or 3 points. That is Blaine's sling will hit for 2 more points of damage. Come on, finish it off, Grebe. Grebe misses. Faqual is so frustrated with this, wants to throw another vial of burning oil or something, but just isn't going to do it. I think instead, Faqual closes that door. This makes sense to me. The thing's down to like 1 hit point. It doesn't look like a threat to us anymore. Let's leave it. Toads can't open doors. So now we go up and we listen to that other door while we're hearing the painful croaks of this toad from the other side of the western door. We listen to that northeastern door, and no one thinks they hear anything. Creak open that door in our usual position, guarded by the fighting company, and we find a hallway that's about 40 feet long and has a door at the other end of it. We go up and we listen at that door, creeping as silently as we can. Virago, again, thinks they hear something, or if there's something to be heard. And this is where that NPC comes in that I had found this name here. This is Devron's lair, former shrine to Afra, the god of darkness and snakes. The shrine has been taken over by an insane, low-level magic user named Devron. Devron is seeking to contact Afra, but has been unsuccessful in his attempts so far. He has no idea about the... Whoops, I don't know about that. Braziers in the corners cast a gloomy reddish glow through this low ceiling room. I'm just reading ahead to see if I hear anything. Virago hears like a whispering hissed there, but I don't think they understand what is being said. I don't think if Devron is hissing, I take that to mean it's in like a low voice, so I don't think Virago hears this immediately. Virago reports to the party, I'm hearing a hissing in this room. Faqual, can you put whatever's in here to sleep? Faqual again says, like, I don't know how big that room is. Why don't I begin prepping magic missile to fire at anything that might be in there? Having seen the snakes, I think, and hearing this sort of hissing whisper, my characters they're thinking there might be some sort of snake monster or creature in here. So they take up their ranged weapons. Faqual prepares to cast magic missile. I think the idea will be that Grebe and Balad rush in and sort of immediately take up those frontline positions once they open the door. I guess I roll surprise to see if the person in there is surprised, because that person might want to evade them. So I'm going to roll surprise. My party won't be surprised. Devron in there is not surprised as the door turns, like the bolt in the door turns, and we come in. I roll initiative because Devron will attack immediately. It says that the tactics are if players do not immediately offer a blood donation, and of course we have no intention of doing that, Devron gets to act first. So Devron turns to my party, I believe asks that as he begins casting sleep. I think that's the way to do it. He has heard like the turning of the door and just thinks, this may be a sacrifice that's being given to me, so I may be able to extract that blood donation myself. So he begins casting sleep. This is how many hit dice will be. Oh no. Oh my god. That might be my whole party. So it is 15 hit dice. 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That is the entire party. Okay, I'm going to pause to think about this. me play this out as if they're all asleep. They are asleep for 5, 9, 2 hours. 13 times 10, so 130 minutes. So my whole party will be asleep for 2 hours. As they entered this room, they saw him standing in front of an altar, this bearded man with unkempt hair in dirty brown robes, and he was hissing, "Need more blood, find more blood." They kind of instantly moved. Aggressively, he cast sleep on them. He has now knocked them all out. Devron then spends a good while tying them up. Recognizing Fakwal as a magic user will gag Fakwal so that Fakwal also cannot speak and cast a spell. So Devron has them and also sort of takes his time disarming them, going through their pockets. I'm wondering if there's anything that he might want to take out of here. Fortunately, I think the treasure we've found is safe with our clay golem upstairs. Crystal crucible's already been given away. Yeah, I don't think we've got any treasure on us that Devron might want. It's a lot of mundane weapons. There is that sword +1. So Devron holds this up, feels the magic on it. I think he's got a good sense of what level we are in terms of our experience and danger, but nonetheless wants to give us a chance to make a sacrifice, to offer that blood donation. Once he is sure he has gone through all of our belongings, separated us from our weapons, and left us tied there, Devron, who does he take to be the leader? I think he would take Blaine, maybe, to be the leader. Blaine is the most heavily armored. The Dungeoneering Company definitely looks like a company of fighters. Blaine sort of most looks like some kind of soldier or knight or guard or something like that. What I think Blaine is immediately going to do is try to cast light right into Devron's eyes. I want to look up to see how that works because I'm not totally sure. If I were to cast it, Devron would make a saving throw versus spell. Failing the saving throw, the victim would be blinded. So Devron slaps Blaine, waking him up. Blaine kind of looks around, takes stock of the situation. This is the worst predicament my party and company have ever gotten themselves into. They are all prisoners of what looks like a madman. They've encountered a few of these madmen, actually, these sort of magic users that are going off the rails. I think at this point, at least later, this is going to integrate into Blaine's consciousness, and Blaine, if he makes it out alive, is going to think, I don't know that I trust Balfour anymore, because Balfour basically resembles Quintius and what was the mad cleric in the Worm adventure. Blaine is sort of putting the pieces together. Here's another madman in magic user's robes. Devron hisses, I need a blood donation. Will you offer yourself or one of your companions? And Blaine is now in this really tricky situation, being able to perhaps suggest one of his companions for this. Blaine is neutral. I think if it had been Fakwal might have suggested one of the fighting company. That is awful to think about. Blaine's god demands adventuring and gathering wealth and conquering monsters, and in this moment, Blaine sees Devron as one of those monsters to be conquered and dealt with in that way. So Blaine does not want to give in to anything that Devron might say. This room has bookshelves in it, and the shelves contain many types of spell components. So I think as Blaine glances over, he sees papers and vials and ingredients like spices and plants and weird collected things that would be components for spells, and as well as a few books. There's an altar in the room with a 1-foot tall clay statue of Afra, though Blaine does not know who that is. It stands on top of a blood-stained altar, and there's a snake-headed figure carved into the wall behind the altar. Blaine's putting it together. If he offers himself or one of his companions as a blood donation, they will be set on that altar and killed. Blaine is going to cast light right into Devron's eyes to try to blind him. Blaine sees that the party's equipment and gear is across the room. If he can blind Devron and then maybe roll across the room, knocking Devron over or something, perhaps he could get to a dagger and cut himself free. This is really risky. I don't think there's much of a chance of this happening at all. Blaine could also wake up the entire party by shouting, bumping into them, rolling into them. They have all been put to sleep before by Quintius, so this feeling of being knocked out by a magic user is sickeningly familiar. Devron is a 3rd level magic user, so I'm going to the character class in the rules cyclopedia. At 3rd level, the save versus spells is a 15. Really the same as it is at 1st and 2nd level. Blaine quickly prays this prayer to cast light into Devron's eyes. This is the save from Devron. I'm going to just dump out my whole dice tray to try to give myself as much rolling room as possible here. Oh, Devron fails. Devron fails the save and shrieks, realizing that this holy spell has hit him in the eyes and he is blinded. Blaine then begins rolling side to side, waking up his companions, and then trying to roll towards Devron to tip him over. As Virago, Talira, Grebe, Zenith, and Balad wake up, they also quickly take stock of that situation, and Blaine is shouting, "Grebe, Balad, help me knock this creature down." So they're all sort of rolling across the floor trying to knock over Devron. Virago and Talira, Fequal begin rolling across the floor towards their equipment. They get there, I'm picturing their hands are bound behind their back and their feet are tied. They are trying to navigate in that way we've seen in movies and TV where one person can see what's going on, and Talira is telling Virago, like, reach up, it's just to your left, grab my dagger, it's right there to your left. Fequal is also trying to move his hands into it and grab this. Meanwhile, they knock over Devron, so Devron has fallen down. Devron has 3 spells prepared and has used up sleep. Shield and invisibility are the only others available to Devron right now. Devron does carry a dagger. In his blindness, he grabs and pulls that dagger out. I think he's going to get a couple of lucky shots in at those who are rolling around him. So I'm going to put us in initiative just to see how this works. We get to go first. I'm wondering if Talira has a skill that I could roll to figure out how dexterously, maybe it's a pickpockets, that's a great one. So Talira is doing her pickpocket skill to see if she can subtly pull a dagger out of a pack, or at least this pile of goods. Her pickpockets is a 30%. Come on. 11. Talira pulls a dagger out. "I've got it," she shouts. "Virago, turn around. Let me try to cut your bindings." And Virago shouts, "No, free Fequal so that Fequal can take care of this fiend." Virago then begins instructing Talira, a little to the left, a little to the right, like helping Talira navigate where the rope would be. Fequal is gesturing his hands that are bound towards the knife, getting a couple of incidental cuts on his hands, but they're getting in there. At that moment, it is the magic user's turn. He is swinging that dagger wildly in this blindness that he is in. A 15. He will hit Grebe, I believe. 17. No, he does not hit. Well, Grebe's probably not. I wonder if he totally undressed them of their armor. I don't think he took that much time, and he was worried about causing noise that might wake them. So they are in their armor, although Grebe does not have her shield, so her AC is a 3. That's an 18. His Thaco is a 21. He's extremely bad at this. So he's swinging around, trying to cut at them. Talira is cutting on that rope that binds Fequal's hands. I'm going to roll for initiative. 4. I get to go first. Talira gets through the rope. Fequal frees his hands, shakes them out, pulls the binding off of his mouth. Is that his entire action, or does he have time to cast a spell? Fequal is seeing this situation, seeing these 3 bodies of Balad, Grebe, Blaine rolling around on the floor, knocking over Devron, and watching Devron stab out. And Fequal realizes, I can't cast sleep or I will put out our party again, or perhaps that is the best thing to do. If I cast Magic Missile, it will absolutely hit, but will it do enough damage to take this person down? Fequal, thinking quickly, I haven't had much luck with Magic Missile doing a lot of damage, starts muttering the words to sleep, and this magic user cries out, recognizing that spell, as Fequal knocks out 11 hit dice of creatures. They all stop. Everybody that's been rolling around on the floor falls to sleep. Fequal, true to his nature, takes care of himself, undoes the binds on his feet, marches over there and lightly taps his companions to wake them up and pulls them away from the sleeping wizard. And they all begin tying up the wizard's hands and feet and then putting a gag in his mouth. Fequal has found his own dagger and is itching to stab it into this wizard. But first, Fequal turns his attention to the shelves around here and sees all of these spell components. What Gunderholfen suggests to me is to roll for each spell. A roll of 1 to 90 on a D100 indicates that the components for that spell are present. There are 60 books on history, 3 books on the cult of Afra, and Devron's spell book is also here. As Fequal sort of runs his fingers over the books on the shelf, finds that spell book and pulls it off, quickly flips through it. I believe magic users are unable to read another spell book. Let's find out about that. Found it under enemy magic users in spells and spellcasting. Should the PCs encounter and defeat an enemy magic user, the PC magic user might try to help themselves to the enemy's spellbook. The DM should make sure that the spellbook has many spells which are identical to those in the PC's spellbook. Most magic users have many spells in common, especially lower levels. PC should gain only 1 or 2 new spells of such an encounter. A new spell is a rare find, and a spellbook is an even rarer treasure. The books are always well hidden and protected. What I take from this is that Fequal flips through this spellbook, recognizing it as Devron's, and of course recovering his own from his property that was taken from him by Devron. Fequal reads into that spellbook and sees the spell for sleep and recognizes, I know that spell as well. This is a spellbook. Also recognizes Detect Magic, which he has learned before and put in his spellbook, but doesn't memorize it very much. There are a few second level spells that Fequal doesn't have access to, can't understand them. So I think from this, Fequal will be able to copy the spell of Shield into his own spellbook. They continue searching around. It doesn't look like there's any treasure here really to speak of. Fequal wants to learn the spell Charm Person as well. I just want to try this out to fully interact with this. So having heard Balfour speak of the Charm Person spell, Fequal is looking on the shelf for the components that he might use to create it. And there is a 90% chance, basically, that the components for that spell are present. So they are. Fequal recognizes these are the components Balfour has spoken of in regards to that spell and pockets those, puts them in his sack after Fequal has been distracted for a moment and they're wondering, what do we do with this monster here? They do find 500 gold hidden about. I realize I didn't draw this room that they're fighting in. It is 30 feet by 40 feet, and there's another door here. So as they have become freed, some of the others open up this door and find it to be the sleeping chambers for Devron. Altar is here, and the bookshelves are down here, and there are these 2 braziers right here and here. They wonder about taking the gag off of Devron, waking him and asking him for information. The Dungeoneering Company, as well as Talara and Virago, are discussing this. Perhaps he knows the location of this central shaft. Perhaps he knows the person that left that note that we found. Fequal is single-minded and just focused on collecting all the magic stuff that he can. He also flips through these books on the cult of Afra and is able to glean enough to understand this is what Devron was doing. He wanted to sacrifice one of us to Afra, this god of darkness and snakes. This must be a remnant of the dwarven mine here. But as they're discussing this, the company, as well as Talara and Virago and Blaine, they sort of come up short, like we don't know what we should do, because if we take his gag off, Fequal warns, then he could cast a spell and possibly drop us all to sleep. They're occupied. There's sort of a sleeping body on the ground, and the others are fervently whispering with each other. Fequal, after he has finished his inspection of everything, draws that dagger and walks over to Devron, cuts his throat. Devron bleeds out on the floor. Fequal just turns back to his party and says, the discussion is over. They all have seen Fequal do things like this before, but generally 2 monsters who have violently attacked them, and this act shocks them all and worries them. Fekwal then walks to the door and says, "Are you coming with me? We need to get out of this damned place." Fekwal has put Devron's spell book into his sack. Talira searches the body of Devron, relieves him of that dagger. It is a +1 dagger. And there is also a potion of rat control, but I don't know how my characters would be able to identify that. I think their best bet is that they're going to return it to Balfour and ask him to identify it. Fekwal is waiting next to the door, sort of impatiently tapping his foot. It's hard to tell if he is performing this role of cold-blooded killer or if he's really been overtaken by this anger and not exactly bloodlust, but like this sort of vengeance, put me to sleep with magic and I will take care of you. So they pretty quickly line up behind him. They kind of shrug at each other. There's nothing to do except follow him out of this room. They have inspected the area. They know there are no hidden doors or anything there. Quite a bit of time has elapsed since they've been in here. 1 full hour they were asleep as Devron stripped them of their possessions and weapons. And then I think it's been at least 30 minutes through that fight and through Fekwal searching everything and knowing what to do. So it's now 11:30 in the morning. They march out of here. They get back to where the doors are and they know there's a very injured giant toad on the other side. Fekwal is still has this, like his blood is kind of boiling for being caught by this magic user, and he's very angry about this, and just he's impatiently wants to push his way through these doors, and the others kind of prevent him from doing that. And listen, don't get yourself killed out there, Fekwal. It's not worth dying to a giant toad after we survive this harrowing encounter with a magic user. They don't hear anything on the other side of that door, so they're going to walk through. Is the toad there still? Yes. The toad is licking its wounds in the other room. They get in, they find it, and there's almost nothing that's going to stop Fekwal from killing this thing. We get the initiative. Fekwal marches straight over to it with his dagger. 14. I believe that giant toad had a 6 AC. It does, so a 20 hits, does 3 points of damage, kills this toad. Whew. Everyone is terrified of Fekwal right now. Fekwal wants to just sort of keep marching. There's just this sort of like headstrongness in him. And Virago puts their hand on his shoulder and says, Fekwal, we were in a terrible bind there, but we have to think straight here. Virago pulls out the map, or at least takes it from Blaine, or I think Fekwal's probably been the one mapping, but says, let's look at that map. And they show Fekwal this route that they've taken. Look, we've got to go all the way past where we heard the rodents in those tunnels, down past the mushrooms, and then over here to find anything that we haven't explored to try to find this central shaft. That's where we have to go. That's where the only passages we haven't explored are. That's going to take us only a couple of turns to get there, but we're going to have to cross that area where the mites were, although we don't know to call them mites, where those creatures tried to drop that net on Talira. We're going to have to cross that water again. Fekwal takes a few deep breaths, lets Virago ground him a bit, and he says, You're right. I felt such fear and anger at being caught short like that by a fellow magic user. I was infuriated, and I let that anger out. But you're right. It's at that moment that Fekwal tells the party what he's discovered in those books about the cult of Afra, and says there was an altar, there was blood on it. Blaine is able to supply the information. Yes, he asked for a blood donation. He wanted me to sacrifice one of you or myself. Fekwal says, I believe he was worshiping this ancient reptile deity and needed to sacrifice one of us to that deity. So we just escaped with our lives. I know my actions looked horribly violent, but I was truly scared for my companions, and I didn't mean to keep you in the dark as far as that goes, but I was overwhelmed in the moment. They all kind of nod. They forgive Fekwal, but still regard him with a bit of apprehension. So they take their time. They go back through that fungus room, not bothering the beetles and not being bothered by the beetles, down the stone stairs, through this other room, and they're sort of waiting in this passage where Talira's able to tell them, I saw in little sort of slits above this tunnel right here, that's where the net was thrown at me. They can only see, like 30 feet down, so they can't even see the area where the net was. as they begin to creep down there, Talira, what the heck, will try to move silently. 41. Unable to do it. So they're all creeping down there. As soon as the torchlight reaches that area, they can see the net is not there. It has been recovered. I don't know why my characters didn't pick up the net as they walked through, but they didn't. So they know to look up. Talira was able to tell them it came from the ceiling. So what I think we should do is aim our bows, like stand at range, aim our bows and slings at that area. Talira will go down there, move across with the rope, and then they will all get across this pond in the same manner. They're also scared that there is something in that pool that they have not found yet, but they have no choice here. So Talira's going to try to hide in the shadows. Doesn't make it. She goes down to that edge of that as close as she can get with Blaine, I think. Talira is brandishing her new +1 dagger, pulls the rope off the side of her pack. Blaine takes one end of it while holding his warhammer in his other hand. No, he's got his spear out. His warhammer is on his backpack, and he's holding his spear, thinking whatever it comes through, and he might need to cut. Wait, have I asked this before? Can clerics use a spear? I don't think they can. He's got his warhammer. This is basically a free climb for a thief, so Talira is able to make it across there. Do the two of them get attacked when they walk into that area? No. Okay, so they stand there. No net drops on them. Talira gets across with the rope and inspects this area over here. One by one, they're going to come down. Fequal will come down. Fequal and Virago will be accompanied by members of the fighting company who can guard them. So let's say Virago and Grebe come down. Blaine is securing the rope. Does the net drop on them? Do the mites try to get them? No. So no net drops over there. Talira is like, hurry, hurry, because she does not want to be left on the southern side of the pool while there might be giant rats up there. Virago goes across. Grebe takes up the position, and Blaine goes across. Does the net come down on Grebe? Yes, the net drops on Grebe. Grebe gets to save versus paralysis here. A 2 does not make it. Grebe is trapped in that net. These mites above her think that she is now alone on this bank and that her friends have crossed. Oh, are they so wrong? The mites swarm out at 4 per round. So this net falls on her, and Virago and Blaine and Talira have gone across the pool. They're watching this happen, and so are Zenith and Ballad. They grab their weapons out. These 4 mites appear. They crawl out of a hole in the ceiling. There's a great picture in the Fiend folio of the mites. Right here. So the mites come crawling out, these sort of devilish-looking creatures. They're very small, and 4 of them come out. Ugh, I hate it, but I gotta roll initiative just to make things fair. Are they gonna get their movement before I can strike or not? No, we get to strike. Zenith and Talira are gonna shoot those longbows. 12. Talira hits the first mite, doing 3 points of damage. Zenith hits the next mite, doing 3 points of damage. Virago with a sling hits a mite, doing 1 point of damage, killing that first mite. So one of these mites just drops off the wall, dead onto the floor. Who else made it across? Blaine, sling. 11. Will hit a mite, has an AC of 8, does 4 points of damage, kills another outright. So there are 2 dead mites there that just fall on the floor, and there are 2 living ones. Zenith is almost having to hold Ballad back because he wants to rush forward and save Grebe, but they don't know if more mites will appear. So, gonna roll for initiative. No. It is the mites' turn. They lost initiative, so they get to go. They roll morale. 9. I also don't remember the morale. Oh, the morale thing I think is, I think it's like a calculated thing in AD&D. It's not just a flat number. These are pretty weak creatures. A HD 1 -1. I feel like there should be a kind of a flat morale check there for them. This is probably something I need to write on a card and just keep with me. Let me look up goblins. What are goblins like? A goblin is also an HD 1 -1 in the rules cyclopedia, and its morale is a 7 or a 9. I've rolled a 9. These 2 mites that are visible retreat. So they run back into that little hole. Ballad at that moment runs forward, pulls the net off of Grebe, holds onto it, and puts Grebe on the rope. Balad is standing there brandishing his two-handed sword, almost daring the mites to come back down. We have torches burning on the ground right there around Balad so that the mites can clearly see him, but he's got some illumination above and he's just looking there waiting for a fight. Grebe is going to make it across, and Balad then calls for Zenith to come down. So Zenith runs down, grabs the rope, she makes it across, and Balad is the last one standing on that shore. Reluctantly sheathes that two-handed sword, grabs the rope, and just swims across, pulls himself across as quickly as he can. With everyone on the other side, we know we have to deal with the rats that are probably in that tunnel, although we don't know they're rats. There's something there. So yeah, we come up to this area, and we know we just need to set some burning oil there again. Fiqual has already set off another burning oil on the toad. We see there are 3 tunnels. We take 3 flasks of burning oil and set them alight, dropping them in front of the tunnels, and then we just run past into the mushroom room. Those will burn for 2 rounds, so it's not very long, 20 seconds or so, but we know our way around the mushroom room and can then rejoin this passage to the south and head here to this area that we have not explored, nor this room. I think we pause in front of this entrance right here. We see that there are, again, sort of like a natural staircase, and we ponder, do we want to go up the staircase or do we want to duck into this room that we haven't fully inspected before? Here's a point where I will actually metagame a little bit, because I think there's a great thing that happens here. We decided to just check out this tunnel. As you remember, we had rested in this cavern full of crystals and healed a little bit, and some of the party had ventured out to kind of map this area and see what was around. They had sort of poked their heads in here and seen like it looks like a single room, but they didn't investigate any further on their own. This time we investigate, we all go in, burning our torch. This is a very low ceilinged cavern, only about 4 feet high, so a couple of us crawl in, Grebe goes in, Talira goes in. The floor is covered in sand. They just kind of like wave a torch around inspecting, and what they see is that on the north wall is scrawled this message. It says, "Find the floating level, Nim," as if Nim is signing this message. Find the floating level. And we also have heard that there's a central shaft, and now a floating level. Talira and Grebe look at each other like, what does this even mean? They crawl out and discuss with their party. It says, "Find the floating level." And that's where I will end this session